Hello, everybody, and welcome to Between the Bumps Professional Wrestling Podcast, the pro wrestling podcast where we go between the bumps in the ring to discuss match quality, storylines, wrestling news, and even make predictions in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I'm your host, Christian Marrero. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Between the Bumps. This is our AEW Dynamite review. And last night, Dynamite was a very special episode because it was Fyter Fest, night one. And it was a really good show. Let me just start out by saying this felt special. They did a good job at making it feel special. And it felt like a pay-per-view in the sense that it was just match after match after match after match after match. And all the matches were really good. This show is not so much of were there good matches, were there bad matches. It's more so all the matches were good, just some were better than others because that's the nature of the beast. So it was really good. It was really, really good in my opinion. I think that they did a really good job of putting on great matches. There weren't many backstage segments. We had a couple, like before the matches, we had some vignettes, but overall they focused heavily on the wrestling. They focused heavily on the matches. And that is the best thing they could have done for something like this. A lot of these matches got me pumped. A lot of these matches were very satisfactory. A lot of them were really good. A lot of them got a good pop out of me. So I think that AEW overall pulled off night one of Fyter Fest really good. So the first match we had was Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus Jurassic Express taking on MJF and Wardlow. This was a great starting match. Let me just start off with that. This rivalry that they've been building, this conflict, they've been building it very nicely. They've been building it in such a way that I was very excited for this match. And there was a lot of great tag team stuff, a lot of great psychology. Wardlow and Luchasaurus are unreal human beings. These two men are just unreal in how athletic and how talented they are. And Jungle Boy and MJF are no slouches either. Let's make that very clear. They're really good. But just Luchasaurus and Wardlow both do things that men half their size do. And they pull it off seamlessly. So I really do want to commend them in the fact that they are just crazy talented, crazy athletic. They are unreal. So this match was great. One of my favorites throughout the whole night. It was a really, really fun match. The chemistry that these two teams have with each other is just awesome. They just work very well against each other. They put on great matches every time they're in the ring together. And Jurassic Express won, which I think was the right call. Letting the baby faces win to open the show, like me and my girlfriend both popped real hard when Luchasaurus got the pin on Wardlow. And there was more teasing of a separation between MJF and Wardlow. And at first, I wasn't so sure if I wanted that separation. But with the way AEW has built it, I'm getting increasingly excited to see Wardlow just beat the shit out of MJF. I'm just so excited because there was one point where Wardlow was holding Luchasaurus and MJF was going to deck him with the ring. But Luchasaurus ducks and he almost hits Wardlow and he screams in Wardlow's face. He's like, "Can you not do anything right?" And then Luchasaurus pushes MJF into Wardlow and MJF still had his fist raised, so he accidentally punches Wardlow and he starts begging for forgiveness. Just, "I'm sorry, bro. Like, I didn't mean to do that." And that is what eventually led to Jurassic Express getting the victory, which I think was the right call. You open the show, you have us happy, and it was really good. Then we move on to the first championship match of the night. It was Hikaru Shida versus Penelope Ford. I'm not going to spoil who won the match. I'm pretty sure you could guess if you've been watching AEW, but I'm not going to spoil the winner. What I will say is that these two women put on a really great match. I thought it was going to be a squash match. Hikaru opened it like it was going to be a squash match, and I was excited for that. I was totally cool with them squashing Penelope Ford, but they didn't. And they actually put on a really good match together. Penelope Ford is a little green, but it doesn't really matter when you put her in there with someone like Hikaru Shida because Hikaru Shida could carry a baby to a decent match, you know what I'm saying? So, this match was really fun. Both of these women are super athletic. Both of them are really talented. And you can say what you want about Penelope Ford, that she's a little green, this, that, whatever, but she is over. The fan base loves her, not just because she's arguably the most attractive woman on the roster. In my opinion, she's the most attractive woman on the roster, but she's very athletic, and that can't be taken away from her. The fact is, she does a lot of really cool acrobatic type stuff, and she throws herself headfirst into everything. She's down for anything. Like, she gives me the air of someone who, when there is an opportunity to be taken, she wants to be the first one to seize it. Like, I got that a lot at Double or Nothing when she interfered in the ladder match. Like, that was a dangerous spot. A lot of women would not do that kind of spot. And Penelope Ford, she jumped right in. She took it. So, props to Penelope Ford. She is improving week in and week out. She really is. I think the more time in ring that she gets, it's just better for her. Like, there are some people who you don't want them in ring a lot because they're too green. But with Penelope Ford, I think that iron is really sharpening iron here, where she gets in the ring, her attractiveness, her personality, her gimmick, her character brings more eyes onto a woman like Hikaru Shida, who Hikaru Shida is amazing. She's my favorite woman on the roster. I'm just going to say that flat out. She's my favorite. So she doesn't need to be sharpened in ring, but considering her character is a little more lax, it's good to put her in with a firecracker like Penelope Ford. So I think this was really the case of both women benefiting from being in the ring with each other, just in different ways. So I think that this was a really good match. I'm not going to spoil the winner, but it was a really good match. Both of these women really threw themselves into it. It was really good. It was really good. The announcers did spend the whole match putting over Penelope Ford, which, like, I get it. We're trying to build Penelope Ford. We're trying to make her into the star that we know she can be. But Hikaru Shida's your champion. So, my one note to the announcers, focus a little more on your champion. I get it. Penelope Ford's hot. She's athletic. But she's also the heel. Put over your champion. Especially your babyface champion. Put her over and put her over hard. Like, don't shy away from that. But it was still a really good match. It was still a very, very, very good match. And then we followed it with another championship match. It was Cody taking on Jake Hager. I'm sorry about that little slip up. Cody versus Jake Hager for the TNT Championship. This was also a very good match. Both of these guys really leaned into their amateur wrestling background. Jake Hager really leaned into his MMA background. I think Jake Hager is one of the best at mixing MMA with pro wrestling. I really think he's one of the best, and his skill at doing so is highly underrated, in my opinion. I think that he does it very seamlessly. Like, he's so believable as a badass because, one, he's a real MMA fighter in Bellator. Two, he's 6'6" and like 260 pounds, something like that, 254, something like that. He's a big guy. He's a big old boy. And he has this sternness about him that his eyes convey the whole message. He's so good at it. He's good at just being an intimidating force. He really is. I think that Jake Hager mixes his style seamlessly between MMA and pro wrestling. He can work like a pro wrestler, but he can work like an MMA fighter. And Cody, who has a great amateur wrestling background, who is just a great pro wrestler all around, really does complement that style mix that Hager brings to the table. So this was a good match. It was hard hitting. It was very physical. It was very aggressive. And so I really think that we could, focus more on matches like this for Jake Hager, putting him in there with guys who can mix his style. Like, squash matches are fine, and I'm cool with a squash match for Jake Hager every now and again, but I do think that he shines the best when he's in there with someone like a Moxley, like a Cody Rhodes, like even Hangman Adam Page, I think would do great. A Kenny Omega, someone who can just bounce off of him really, really well. So, it was good. Cody came out in a t-shirt, and his t-shirt said the American Nightmare, but it was stylized like the old Great American Bash logo. Kind of a shot at NXT, but a lot of people have brought up the good point of his father created the Great American Bash. So if WWE is going to use that name on a night specifically to compete with AEW, then I feel Cody has every right to take that and kind of shoot a shot at them. His dad created it. And WWE really leans heavily into the things Dusty created. So I feel like that should be, it's okay. I don't care when they take little shots at WWE. I mean, earlier in the night, I forgot to mention this. MJF cut a promo before his match, and he openly admitted that they are in a ratings war. So there's no more of this excuse of, oh, it's not a war. Like, MJF just said it's a war. So, Wednesday Night Wars officially confirmed in canon. But this was a really good match between Hager and Cody. I'm not going to spoil the winner. Once again, you can probably guess who the winner was. But it was good. It was good. It was very physical, very hard-hitting. It was a little more slow-paced than the two matches we saw before. But it was still really good. And there were a lot of times where you didn't know who was going to take the victory. Like, they did a very good job of just, really getting you on edge and seeing who was going to walk out with that strap. So, all championship matches should be like that unless you're specifically doing a squash match. So, it was really good. I really enjoyed that match. Then we moved on to Proud and Powerful taking on Private Party. And this match was placed somewhere in the card where it didn't get as much attention. They had picture-in-picture commercial breaks in it, but it was still a really good match, and you can tell just because of the two tag teams that were involved. Santana and Ortiz are awesome, and I hate sounding like a hipster here, but I'm gonna sound like a hipster. I've been following Santana and Ortiz's career for a very long time. A lot of people in the world, a lot of people in the wrestling community, especially casual fans, had no idea who these two were. Despite all of their work as LAX and TNA and on the indies, despite how talented they are, a lot of people did not know who they were until they got to AEW. And I'm not trying to sound like a hipster douchebag right now, but I knew who they were. And when they first got signed to AEW, I was so excited. I was so excited because this is a team that could benefit so heavily from being in a division where tag teams are taken seriously. They're both very powerful. They're Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican. They rep being Puerto Rican. So there's a little bit of, pride there. But these are just two talented guys. These brothers are just insanely talented. So, Private Party and Proud and Powerful, they put on a really great match tonight. They put on a match that was just very fast-paced, very hard-hitting, very fun to watch. Both of these teams are super talented. They have really good chemistry together. I won't deny that. They work very well together. Private Party got a new entrance song, which is leagues better than their previous entrance song. And Matt Hardy was out there with them. Matt Hardy helped them at one point because Proud and Powerful were going to use their baseball sock thing to club Private Party, but Matt Hardy took it from them. And Santana, Ortiz. I love Ortiz. That dude cracks me up so hardcore. Because at one point during the match, when Matt Hardy takes a sock from him, he's just like, "Are you serious? Are you serious? What are you doing, man? What are you doing?" Well, Ortiz, he's making sure you don't cheat because he wants to help this young tag team. So, it was a really good match. And during this match, at the beginning of the match, Orange Cassidy came out, and he came out like a gangster, because he was wearing his blood-stained t-shirt from last week's Dynamite, and he said nothing. He just set up a chair, sat at the commentary table, and they made it to where Jericho was just the entire time, because Jericho was on commentary tonight, the entire time he was just talking shit to Orange Cassidy, like he was calling the match, but then he would turn and talk some shit to Orange Cassidy. It was really, really good. It was really funny, especially because Orange Cassidy's just great. I love his character. He's really hilarious. He's got his gimmick on lockdown. He just knows what he's doing. He's a super talented dude. Some people don't get Orange Cassidy. I get Orange Cassidy. I get it entirely. I didn't at first, but now I get it. And it was just so gangster to see him come out in his blood-stained t-shirt and just sit down nonchalantly. It was so gangster. It was one of those gangster things I've ever seen. So, Private Party wins the match, and they will now be moving on to face the winner of the Tag Team Championship match between Best Friends and Hangman and Omega later on in the night. So they're getting their title shot next week. I think that's going to be a good match, and I will explain right now why that is happening. So, after this match, there was a brief scuffle between Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho, but they were broken up. And then it was announced that Jon Moxley and Brian Cage has been rescheduled to Fight for the Fallen on the 15th. Now, the reason this is happening is because Jon Moxley has some concerns regarding the virus, the current global pandemic, and his wife tested positive. So, just to avoid any risk, just to make sure everyone's safe and sound, they had to reschedule this match, which was good call on AEW's part. Very good call. Even if he tested negative twice, this, that, whatever, you need to be as cautious as you can in a situation like this one. So that was a good call on AEW's behalf. So Taz comes out and he cuts a promo. This was one of the few times where we got just an in-ring segment. He comes out with Brian Cage and he just goes off. And this was one of his best promos so far in AEW as a heel manager. It was just awesome. So he goes off on Jon Moxley saying that all of this regarding the virus and all that, it's an excuse because he tested negative twice. And if he really cared about, safety and about wrestling, if he really cared about defending his title, he would have gotten tested a third time, because at AEW, they don't run a sloppy show. And that was a shot at WWE, but that is a justified shot. There's no reason the richest wrestling company in the world should not have been testing their athletes and their backstage hands and all of their staff members. There's no reason. If AEW could do it, WWE could do it. They were just choosing not to. So he goes on and he says that you're staying home and quarantining not because you tested positive for the virus, but because you're scared of Brian Cage and you want more time. You want more time to prepare and to hold on to your title. But honestly, this feud is, I think, going to benefit from this, because this feud has had a lot of build, but not that much, especially considering Brian Cage is brand new in the company. He won the title shot at the Double or Nothing Casino ladder match. He didn't, it's not like MJF, who's the number one ranked competitor. He won his title shot in a specific match on his debut. So this feud will benefit from having another week to build, another week to create anticipation in its audience. I think that their match is going to be really good. It does suck that they had to move it, because I was very excited for this match. I was very excited. Brian Cage is just very talented. I don't know if any of you have watched his stuff in Impact or any of the indies, but he is, not only does he look like unreal because he's just massive, but he is super talented as a pro wrestler. He really is. He's very athletic. He's got great psychology. Brian Cage is a talented pro wrestler. And Jon Moxley's Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley is just awesome. So I was very excited for this match. I was really excited for it, but safety above all else. Safety even above my excitement. Then we move on into the main event of the night. And it was Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page taking on Best Friends for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. The Best Friends were driven to the ring in a Honda minivan by Trent's mother. It was adorable. If you want to get them over, that is how you get them over. I'm not going to spoil this match again. I don't spoil championship matches anymore. But this match was easily the best match of the night, of Fyter Fest. And it was one of the best matches that Best Friends have ever put on. It didn't quite meet the expectations of the Revolution match between Hangman and Omega and the Young Bucks, but this match was still easily the best match of the night. It was really good. The tag team psychology was really good. And there was one weird thing about it, though. Before the match, Hangman and Kenny were cutting promos backstage, and Kenny and Hangman referred to the tag team titles as his titles. But this was further solidified in the match. I can't tell you why. I can just tell you that it was further solidified. Now, this match was great. This match was really good. I really want to talk more about it, but I'm scared that if I talk about it, I will end up spoiling something. What I will say about it is, Best Friends have definitely earned this title shot. They have not only earned it in storyline, but they have earned it in real life. They have been, per Tony Khan, two of the biggest players during this whole crazy situation that everyone's going through. I love Best Friends. I didn't like them at first. I'm not going to lie. I really didn't. Chuck Taylor, I wasn't a fan of him. I thought Trent would maybe be better as a single star. But now, over the past couple of months, I've really been convinced that they are one of the best tag teams, and they work very well together as a tag team. So, I really enjoyed this match. It was the best match of the night, easily. I don't want to go in too deep of detail, because I feel if I do, I will spoil the match. But just go check this one out. Check this match out. It was a really good match. It was very fun. It had great tag team psychology. Very hard hitting. They were stiff as hell at some points. Like, one thing I will say is at one point, Kenny Omega hit a missile dropkick onto the back of Trent's neck. And it looked painful. Like, it looked so painful. It really did. Like, it looked like it hurt. Like, it looked like exactly what it was. One grown man driving his feet into the back of the neck of another grown man. It was stiff as hell. This whole match was. But it was good. It was really good. Fyter Fest Night 1 overall was really good. A very enjoyable show. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. They were damn near perfect. I would change one thing about the show, but once again, I can't say it without spoiling it. All I will say is that there could have been some changes made. And when you watch the show, you'll probably know what I mean by that. But 9.5 overall out of 10 show. This show felt very special. This show felt very intense. It was just good match after good match after good match. That tag team title match at the end of the show was just amazing. The tag team match between MJF and Wardlow taking on Jurassic Express to open the show was just great. Like, this was just a really good show. It was a really good card. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be for night 1. And I'm very excited for next week. I am very excited for night 2. Night 2 has some amazing stuff planned for it. Like, Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho is going to be amazing. I've said it before and I will say it again. That is a match I never knew I needed until it was presented to me. And then I realized, wow, I really need that match to happen. Like, I don't only need it, but I am desperate for it. Like, I am in desperate need of a match like that. So, overall, it was a great match. It really, really was a great match. So, I think you should check out Fyter Fest. I think you should check out AEW in general. If you're not, I think AEW is the best wrestling on the planet right now. Some people say it's NXT. I humbly disagree with you, and I respectfully disagree with you. I think it's AEW Dynamite. I think AEW feels like the most important wrestling every week. It feels new. It feels like what pro wrestling has not felt in a very long time. So, that's all I can say about Fyter Fest, guys. It was really good. It was a really good show, very enjoyable, very much a pro wrestling show. It was just good match after 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 good match. I think we had 6 matches. I might be wrong about that number. And it just flew by. Like, I can't lie. When we reached the main event, I was shocked. I was like, really? Like, it's always, like, every week Dynamite just leaves me wanting more. I'm never happy when it's over. I'm never happy when it is over because it never feels like enough. But that's exactly the kind of feeling you should get from a show. Any show, be it pro wrestling, a TV series, like, it should never feel like enough. It should always feel like you want some more out of it. And that is double for professional wrestling. You should never feel satisfied completely after a pro wrestling show because you should want to watch next week because you want some more. And AEW achieves that every single week. They did it perfectly this week. I'm super pumped for Fyter Fest Night 2. Fyter Fest Night 1 felt like an occasion. It felt like a free pay-per-view on television. It was really good. It was really good, and if they can pull that same thing off next week, we're in business. Also, I want to address my absence last week. I think I addressed it briefly at the beginning of the show. I'm sorry that I didn't release any podcasts last week. Last week was kind of hectic for me, especially Thursday when I usually do the Dynamite review. That's usually when I release it, but I was dealing with some medical insurance stuff. Last week was just a very hectic week. I couldn't get around to recording the podcast. I didn't even watch Smackdown last week, which sucks because I heard that it was actually a really fun show. But this week, we're back on regular schedule. I'm sorry about missing last week. I'm also sorry about any noise you might have heard outside, some banging, some this, that, whatever. There's some work being done outside. I can't stop it. I just tried to power through as best as I can, not get distracted by it, and produce content because, as I just said last week, I produced none, and I feel like a piece of trash for not producing any content, and I am sorry. So, I hope you guys can forgive me for that. Like I said, last week was just very hectic for me, and it was very hard to watch the shows, record a podcast. Like, I just did not have the time last week. But this week, I'm back on schedule. We're back on track. So, on Saturday, get ready for the Smackdown review. We'll see if it's good or bad. I don't think it'll be as good as Fyter Fest. But, to be fair, WWE is rarely as good as AEW Dynamite. Sometimes they are. Like, I'm not going to lie and say that they never are. Because sometimes they're really good. But AEW Dynamite usually takes the cake for me. So, that's about it, guys. I'm sorry about missing last week. I'm sorry about any noises you might have heard, any distractions. I tried to record this at a time where I think everything around me is going to be very quiet because I don't have microphones. I don't have a good setup yet. I'm working on getting those things, I promise. But money's tight right now. So, we're all kind of struggling. But that's not going to stop me from making content. No excuses. Last week, I had a legitimate excuse. This week, I had no excuse. And some noise outside is not a legitimate excuse for me. So, that's it, guys. You got a podcast this week. And you're getting another one later in the week. And I haven't been doing the wrestler highlights of the week because, quite frankly, I just haven't. And I really need to get back on that. Especially because there are wrestlers who definitely deserve to be highlighted. So, I'll probably do one this week. I might do it on Friday, so tomorrow. Because today is Thursday, so tomorrow I'll try to get done a Wrestler of the Week highlight. But if I'm not able to, I'm sorry. So that's it, guys. Those are my main points. Sorry for missing last week. Sorry for any noise. And go watch Fyter Fest Night 1. It was really good. And I couldn't really talk about a lot of the matches because they were championship matches. And I don't want to spoil them. That Hangman Omega match against Best Friends, that was sweet, though. Anyways, guys, that's all I really got to say. I've kind of been rambling for the last 10 minutes of this podcast. And I'm sorry about that, but there were some things I needed to address. So, that's it, guys. Fyter Fest Night 1, raging success in my opinion. Well, everybody, this has been Between the Bumps Professional Wrestling Podcast, the pro wrestling podcast where we go between the bumps in the ring to discuss match quality, storylines, wrestling news, and even make predictions in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I'm your host, Christian Marrero. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment below to let me know what you thought of Fyter Fest Night 1. Stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later.